Are you looking for a cheesecake recipe but not sure which direction to go because there are so many options? In today's video, I'm bringing you 3 different cheesecakes, and even the textures are different. Of course, I'll show you the famous New York cheesecake, the original recipe. I'll make it with a smooth mango topping using real mango, but you can choose any fruit you like. I'll also teach you how to make an Oreo cheesecake with plenty of chocolate on top and an ultra creamy texture like you've never seen before. And finally, we'll finish with a cheesecake that has a more caramelized and firm exterior, creamy on the inside, and filled with pieces of tropical fruit. Although, again, you can use whatever fruit you prefer. So, let's get started with the recipes. Today, I'm showing you what I truly believe is the best New York cheesecake ever. It's rich, it's creamy, and it absolutely melts in your mouth. First, we're going to crush 270 grams of digestive cookies, which is about 9.5 ounces. If you're in the US, you can also use graham crackers. They work perfectly for that classic New York-style crust. If you have a food processor, pulse them until you get fine crumbs. If not, just place the cookies in a zip-top bag and crush them with a rolling pin until they look like sand. Now add 90 grams of softened butter. That's 3.2 ounces. Make sure it's at room temperature so it blends smoothly. With clean hands, mix everything together until it feels like wet sand and holds together when you press it. And remember, you'll find all the measurements in the description box below, both in grams and in ounces. So whether you're baking here in the States or anywhere else, you're covered. Grab a 10-inch springform pan and line the bottom with parchment paper. Pour in the crumbs and press them down firmly using a spatula or the bottom of a measuring cup. Make sure it's packed tight. That's how you get a crust that holds together beautifully. Pop it into the freezer for 10 minutes while we make the filling. Now for the star of the show, the filling. We need 900 grams of cream cheese, which is 32 ounces. That's 4 standard 8-ounce blocks here in the US. Make sure it's fully at room temperature so your cheesecake turns out silky smooth. Preheat your oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 200 degrees Celsius. Beat the cream cheese until it's smooth and creamy. Then add 250 grams of sugar, about 8.8 ounces, the juice of half a lemon, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, 3 tablespoons of all-purpose flour, and 200 milliliters of Greek yogurt, about 3/4 cup or 6.8 fluid ounces. Mix just until everything is combined. In a separate bowl, lightly beat 3 whole eggs plus 1 extra yolk with a fork. This little step helps them blend in more evenly. Add them to the batter and mix just until incorporated. Don't overmix once the eggs are in. That can cause cracks later. Scrape down the sides of the bowl so everything is evenly blended. When the batter looks smooth, creamy, and completely lump-free, it's ready. Pour the filling over the chilled crust and gently smooth the top. Bake at 400 degrees Fahrenheit for the first 10 minutes. Then reduce the temperature to 375 degrees Fahrenheit. That's 190 Celsius, and bake for another 30 minutes. And whatever you do, do not open the oven door while it's baking. After 40 minutes total, turn off the oven but leave the cheesecake inside with the door closed until it cools completely. This slow cooling process helps prevent cracks and gives you that signature New York texture. While the cheesecake cools, let's make the mango topping. Peel and dice 2 whole mangoes, about 420 grams or 14.8 ounces total. Add them to a saucepan with the juice of 2 oranges, 3 tablespoons of sugar, and the juice of half a lemon. Cook over medium heat until the mango softens and the mixture becomes fragrant. Meanwhile, sprinkle 10 grams of powdered gelatin, about 0.35 ounces, over half a cup of cold water and let it bloom for 5 minutes. Once it's hydrated, microwave it in 10-second intervals until it turns liquid. Do not let it boil. Blend the mango mixture until smooth, then stir in the melted gelatin and mix well. Once your cheesecake is completely cool, pour the mango topping over the top and spread it evenly. Refrigerate for at least 4 to 6 hours, but overnight is even better if you can wait. And this is what makes a true New York cheesecake so special. It's dense but incredibly creamy, rich without being heavy, and when you take a bite, it just melts on your tongue. That smooth, velvety texture is exactly what we're looking for. And don't go anywhere, because another delicious recipe is coming up right after this. If you enjoyed this recipe, make sure you subscribe and leave me a comment. It really supports the channel and helps me keep creating more recipes for you. And now we continue with the next recipe. This cheesecake is a little more consistent and rich than the previous one. If you love chocolate, this one is truly for you. It has Nutella, chocolate chips, and a generous Oreo cookie base. It's the kind of dessert that makes chocolate lovers very happy. So let's make it together step by step. First, crush 400 grams of Oreo cookies until they are finely ground. You can use a food processor or place them in a bag and crush them with a rolling pin. Transfer the crumbs to a bowl. Add 130 grams of melted butter. Mix with a spatula until everything is well combined. The texture should look like wet sand and hold together when you press it. This butter is what helps create a firm crust that doesn't fall apart when slicing. Grease a 20-centimeter springform pan and line the bottom with parchment paper. Add the cookie mixture into the pan. Press it down firmly and evenly using a spoon or the bottom of a glass. Try to compact it well so the base is stable. Place it in the fridge while we prepare the filling. Chilling the crust helps it set and keeps it separate from the creamy filling. Now, let's move on to the filling, which is the heart of the cheesecake. Add 900 grams of cream cheese to a large bowl. Make sure your cream cheese is at room temperature so it blends smoothly. Beat it for about 1 minute until creamy and lump-free. Add 1 cup of sugar, about 200 grams. Add 2 eggs first. Beat for 1 minute so they fully blend into the cream cheese. Now, add the remaining 4 eggs. Adding eggs in stages helps create a smooth and stable batter. Add 1 tablespoon of cornstarch. Cornstarch helps the cheesecake set and slice nicely. Add 2 tablespoons of all-purpose flour. A small amount of flour gives extra structure without making it dense. Add 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Beat for about 1 minute, just until combined. Do not overmix at this stage. Too much air in the batter can cause cracks during baking. Add 1 plain yogurt, about 5 teaspoons. This adds moisture and a slight tang that balances the sweetness. Mix gently until smooth and fully incorporated. Pour the cream cheese mixture over the chilled crust. Tap the pan lightly on the counter to release big air bubbles. Cover the pan well with aluminum foil. This protects the cheesecake from water during the water bath. Place the cheesecake pan inside a larger pan. Add very hot water around it to create a water bath. The water bath provides gentle and even heat. This helps the cheesecake bake slowly and prevents cracks on top. Preheat your oven to 180 degrees Celsius. Bake at 190 degrees Celsius for 1 hour and 30 minutes. The center should still have a slight jiggle when you gently move the pan. That jiggle means it will finish setting as it cools. Very important, turn off the oven and let the cheesecake cool inside. Slow cooling prevents sudden temperature changes that cause cracking. After that, chill it in the fridge for at least 3 hours. Overnight is even better if you have time. To unmold, run a spatula carefully around the edges. Look at that texture, creamy, smooth, and delicate. Now comes the fun part, decorating. Add dulce de leche on top. Sprinkle chocolate chips, add some pecans for crunch, and drizzle melted chocolate or Nutella. The more chocolate, the better. Tell me, what country are you watching from? I love knowing where my recipes travel. This cheesecake is incredibly tender and creamy. Let it rest in the fridge overnight if you can. The flavor and texture are even better the next day. And don't go anywhere, we still have another recipe coming. Subscribe to my channel for more recipes, and tell me in the comments if you enjoyed this one. And finally, I'm sharing this recipe I discovered recently, and it turns out delicious. It is not as creamy as the previous ones, but it is a bit crunchier and denser. At home, we truly loved this recipe, so let's get started. In a steel bowl, I place 250 grams of all-purpose flour, about 2 cups. I add 60 grams of unsweetened cocoa powder, about 2/3 of a cup. I add a small pinch of salt. I add 1 teaspoon of baking powder. I add 150 grams of sugar, about 3/4 of a cup. I gently mix with my hands to combine all the dry ingredients. Now, I add 2 eggs. I also add 150 grams of butter at room temperature, about 2/3 of a cup. This is the texture it should have, soft and easy to work with. I start kneading only with my hand, just enough to combine everything and form a slightly sticky dough. I separate about 1/4 of the dough and set it aside. The remaining dough goes into a previously greased pan. I grease it with spray oil, but you can use butter or oil and dust it with flour like we used to do. With my hands, I spread the dough. If it feels too sticky, you can add a little more flour. Press with your fingers to cover the bottom and the sides very well. I use a pan that is 22 centimeters wide and 8 centimeters high, about 9 inches by 3 inches. In another bowl, I add 600 grams of cream cheese, about 21 ounces. That equals 2 300-gram packages, about 10.5 ounces each. I add 150 grams of sugar, about 3/4 of a cup. With a spatula, I mix until the cheese and sugar are creamy. I add vanilla. I use clear vanilla, but you can use any vanilla you like. I add 1 cup of heavy whipping cream with 35% fat. I add half a cup of sunflower oil or any mild oil. I mix in 2½ tablespoons of cornstarch. Now, I add 4 eggs. I add them one at a time, mixing well after each addition. You can add them one by one or 2 at a time, but always mix fully before adding more. When the mixture is creamy and smooth, I pour it into the pan over the cocoa dough base. Now, I add the tropical fruit I previously cooked with a little sugar and water. I drained it well and let it cool. I spread the fruit over the cheesecake. You can use any fruit you prefer. I take the reserved dough, break it with my fingers, stretch it slightly, and place pieces on top. I add a little more fruit on the surface. I bake in a preheated oven at 180 degrees Celsius, about 350 degrees Fahrenheit, with top and bottom heat. Baking time is 50 minutes to 1 hour, depending on your oven. Once baked, I let it cool very well before removing from the pan. If possible, let it cool for several hours until fully set. That way, it slices perfectly. If you like, dust powdered sugar on top. In very little time, we made a delicious tropical fruit cheesecake, fully homemade. I truly recommend it. Tell me in the comments which recipe you liked most. Thank you for being here. You help me keep creating content. Try it and tell me how it turned out. Thank you very much, and see you soon!